Hello, everybody. We'll try that again without the microphone muted. So, yes, thank you for joining us for another live stream. This is, I know I've entitled it, I'm assuming just checking everyone. Yes, there we are. We're up and running now. Nothing like a balls up to start with. Yes, so I know I've entitled it Debunking Twitter Posts. And we will do some debunking of Twitter posts. My intention wasn't to do just debunking Twitter posts. I was hoping that we were going to get to watch the Starship flight. But unfortunately, before, when I was then making the thumbnail, I was halfway through making a thumbnail for the stream around, including a Starship flight, a Starship image in the thumbnail. And then I read that they've postponed it until potentially tomorrow, and who knows. So, yeah. I just thought we'd have a bit of a hangout. I probably won't be on too long because I'm sure I saw that FTFE and Toon, I think, potentially going live later as well. So who knows? So yeah, I just thought we'd have a hangout. I've made some minor tweaks to the stream as well. I'm kind of learning as I go here. So where's our rusty cam? There we go. Sidekick is as you'd expect, flat out asleep. There we are. We'll get the chat in, get him on the right side as well. I've upgraded Rusty's camera now so that it's running on mains power, not battery, so it's not going to go flat in the middle of a stream like it did last time. I've also actually added, just for in any future streams where I am starting to debunk things, I might need to be able to show some stuff. So somewhere here we have an overhead camera that'll be on the desk, so I can start potentially drawing some diagrams, because that was always one aspect for me of live streams versus making videos, in that making a video I can take the time to put together a diagram, something that can actually show the point that I'm trying to make. But obviously on a live stream that's a bit more difficult, so hopefully that camera will help me if and when we come to doing stuff. And I can see that Present 99 has already found the other update to the channel, which is that memberships are now live, and Present 99 has already gifted 50 people memberships, which is crazy. Thank you, Present 99. I know there was 5 people, I think, before the stream even started that had signed up for memberships. Although I think Mr. Toffees might be removing his membership very shortly. Sorry, in case anyone doesn't follow football, the Liverpool versus Paris Saint-Germain match has just been on, and I can't believe we actually won it. Lots of familiar faces in the chat as well. Always great to see. What's that? Are you considering preserving these VODs? Oh, do you know what? I'm not sure what you mean, VODs. Videos on demand? Yeah. Who else have we got in the chat here? A couple of mods, which is always good to see. Great Shamalama Ding Dong. Yes, Woot Woot Liverpool. VODs, live stream recordings. Oh, yeah, well, I mean, the live streams are still on YouTube. I'm not planning on getting rid of them. Yeah, Liverpool. I genuinely can't believe that we won that match. I was watching the whole match, thinking we'll be lucky to get a draw here. PSG are all over us, and yeah, Harvey Elliott comes on, and within 47 seconds, and the first touch of his first touch, he wins us the match, which was amazing. So yeah, that was why I was a bit flustered getting onto the stream, because literally the match finished a matter of minutes ago. So yeah, right. So, what else was I going to do? Rusty, you're meant to be filling in for me. No. Oh, that was the other update as well. In fact, at the end of the stream, so we obviously have the Rusty intro, which everyone loves. I've now got a Rusty outro as well. Somebody emailed me a song that they've made. They put together a song regarding Rusty and me and Rusty's red chair, which was a great song. So I've put together a video to go with it of all bit compilation clips that I've kept of Rusty. That I'm going to put it all together. So I'm going to play it as the outro at the end of the stream. And no, stop wishing the end of the stream would arrive now. Okay. There's some cute clips. To be fair, there's a lot of, particularly when, not so much now because Rusty knows the script when it comes to my videos. You probably can tell if you watch them that he knows what's going on. He pretty much just, once I start filming, he knows it's fall asleep time, unless I either get up to go and grab something if I realized I need something that I was meant to include in the stream, in the recording. I get up to get it. That disturbs him, but for the most part, he will just sleep until he recognizes the sign off where I say that's it for this video, and then he suddenly perks up because he knows it's the end. Whereas when I first started filming in the old house, when he was still fairly unfamiliar with it all, he'd clamber all over me. He was constantly up and down and moving around a lot more. So there was a lot more funny moments, and I'd often just clip the Rusty moments and I put them all in a folder and keep hold of them just for sort of prosperity. So I've put a load of them together in the, glad that it's got, oh, hello, is it still playing, everybody, or... Oh, okay. So I don't know what happened there. I just got a notification saying that OBS had suddenly stopped working, but we're good now. Thank you. That's all right, as long as it's... I don't want to start being like Craig, where it's buffering every 30 seconds. Yes, so I was hoping to do a watch-along for Starship Flight 8, but it got scrubbed on Monday. I'm kind of glad that it got scrubbed, though, because it was due to take off at about midnight UK time, 11:30, 12 o'clock. Well, I was up the next morning at 6 a.m. to go to the gym. So I'm kind of glad that they scrubbed it at midnight rather than me having to stay up to watch it. So, yes, Big Fish, yes. Shots fired at Craig. It's Craig's fault that I'm in this circle of dealing with Flat Earth now, because it was one of his debates live streams that I watched that prompted me to start making Flat Earth videos. So I blame him for putting me through all of this. So yeah, they pushed the Starship flight back to tonight, or it was supposed to be tonight, so I thought we could do a watch along together. And then they've pushed it back even more. But there was actually really a nice moment for me anyway on the a bit of a surprise on the Monday for Starship, because I was watching the Everyday Astronauts live stream of his live stream coverage of the Starship build-up. Tim Dodd, I think it's his surname, if I remember rightly. It's definitely Tim. He was one who was meant to be going on one of the first manned flights of Starship to the moon. But, so I was watching his stream coverage of it all. And he's recently, although he generally does all videos about rocket flights and covers the Starship launches and the Falcon launches and that, he did a video recently which was a nearly 2.5 hour basically takedown of all of the Apollo conspiracies. It was a great video. At least I've not even managed to watch it in its entirety yet, but the bits that I have seen, fantastic. He does a monumental takedown of so many different parts. Like one point he brings up the every conspiracy theorist's favorite clip about the Van Allen belts with not Scott Kelly. Who is it? Kelly, I can't remember his name. The clip from Orion Trial by Fire, where they talk about the Van Allen belts and the shielding on the Orion craft. Well, Tim just went and video called the guy from the video and had a call with him about the whole flight and the radiation and everything. It was an amazing video, and if you haven't watched it, go and watch it. Well, anyway, so I put a comment to Tim. I just put a super chat to him, just saying because he's commented a few times about how much work has gone into making that Apollo video. It was several months. Like, I don't usually spend more than a couple of weeks. In fact, Valentin, yes, if any of my mods could just, wouldn't mind just grabbing a link to it, that would be great. If not, I'll find it. So yeah, I usually spend a couple of weeks at best for long videos. Normally, I can do a video within a week. When I did like the Bart Cybrell takedown from where he went on Joe Rogan and spouted a bunch of bollocks about the Apollo missions, it took me 2-3 weeks or so to put it together because there was quite a lot of research. Connected, reconnected, buffer, stop streaming. Are we back? OBS reconnection successful. I do apologize, everybody. I don't know what's going on here. As far as I know, nothing is any different than how I've had it before, and yet I'm currently getting OBS connection, disconnection, reconnection. I wonder if I'm just going to turn... I don't know if I've maybe overloaded it, if I've got too many cameras set up now. So we'll just see how this behaves, and I might look into it. I'll speak to Toon or Planner Walk, because they deal with OBS a lot as well. But anyway, I will get to the end of this story, I swear. So yes, when Tim was streaming the Starship launched, I just put a super chat just saying, hey Tim, loved the Apollo video. It was well worth the wait. I just thought I'd, just wanted to sort of show some appreciation for the work that he put in for the Apollo video, because it really was fantastic. Well, he doesn't normally get to read all the super chats out. He not only picked that one and read it, but the way he spoke about it and referenced my name, he clearly knows who I am, which was insane. I can't believe that a channel as big as the Everyday Astronaut seems to know who the hell I am. It's it's bizarre. So I would love to, if I ever get the opportunity, I'd love to do a video with Tim, or even better, get to go out to Starbase. I don't know why I've got Vegas on the mind. It would be awesome to be able to get out and see a Starship flight. Maybe the flight where they first go full orbit and land back at the launch pad. Oh, now you decide to move. He's not doing a lot. Anyway. So yes, my idea for this Twitter post thing, because I'm on Twitter, X, I call it Twix nowadays, but I never really do much on it. I have an account, and then I just occasionally will go on. It gives me an endless stream of just insane claims, and then I just have a look through. I'm like, oh my god, this is ridiculous, and then I have to turn it off. It's generally just quite good for some material at times. You can kind of bet when I'm making a video sometimes, and I know there's a claim that somebody's made in the past, and I think I need to find some proof, basically, that claim has actually been made. Half the time I know it's something that's been said in a video from somebody, but I can't remember exactly where it was, kind of what video it was in or where within it. So I then wind up... Yeah, I know, John. Steve, the body language expert, will say that because I've got Vegas on the mind, it was the Las Vegas sphere. God knows. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So I usually know that going on to X, Twix, is a pretty surefire way that I can find somebody making one of those claims, because they just make all sorts on there. So I actually had the thought, I saw a few people commenting when I first put the stream up, basically suggesting that the clips, the pictures and the memes that I posted as the thumbnail were what I was going to be covering. That wasn't actually my plan. My plan was to just load up Twix, and see what garbage it threw out at me. All the ones that were on that thumbnail are just ones that I saw today whilst making the whilst making the thumbnail. They're all claims that have been made in the past couple of days, even though most of them are stuff that I've probably debunked before anyway. But before I jump into that, let's just catch up on some super chats, because I'm seeing there's a couple popping through. So we've got Emma, Dr. Nick, Londerboy, and Present 99, who've all got memberships, and then Present 99 went and bought a load for people as well. Mike Hatch for £2. Hope you already had a Strepsil. I haven't had one. I do have them on hand, though. I learned that mistake from the last stream as well. Valentin... I can't eat. It's not even... Oh, Demanov for £2. Dave, just an idea. Rusty badges for members. A very good idea, actually, that. Val, I will put those together. There are, as most people have probably already seen, a couple of emojis of Rusty, one of the globe, and then one of the Globe Mum and Triggered Limey combined avatar, which was the one I had on my backpack for the trip to Antarctica. Kooks for €2. Thoughts on people using religion to back claims? I suppose it depends on the claims being made. If they're religious claims, then using religion to back it kind of makes sense. But I suppose, obviously, it would depend on whether it's relevant to the topic. I don't personally use religion to back claims because I'm not religious. But Bill Tetley has also got a membership as well. So welcome to Rusty Fans, Bill. I don't know what I'm going to do with regards to the membership tiers. As I mentioned in the one of the previous streams, I didn't even have membership set up to begin with, and people started asking about them, presumably because they wanted to get memberships. But I had no idea on what to do in terms of different tiers for things. So I just thought I'll just put one tier out for now. If I don't know, I may well be able to expand it at a later date. I don't know. And Russ Glennon has also got a membership as well. Welcome, Russ. So we're already getting quite a few here, which is really good. Right, I'm going to start, actually. I'll bring up some of the... In fact, not that one. Don't I have share with chat? There we go. Can't get rid of Rusty on this, can I? I will bring up some of the Twitter memes that I've already captured that I was going to include. And I particularly like this one. Just because of how it fell within my feed was quite amusing. There's nothing really anything to debunk. It's just funny, I find. So MC Toon, a couple of days ago, posted this about Dirt's app exposing lots of people's data. And then the very next post that it fed for me was Flat Earth Dave, showing a snippet from reposting real Buzz Aldrin's page, congratulating Firefly on the Blue Ghost landing, and Flat Earth Dave saying so sad for Buzz that he has to live his final years stuck in a lie, which I thought was quite ironic that it spat those two out next to each other, considering Dave is basically pushing his retirement fund here for everybody and balls to their data. Yeah, he really doesn't seem to care about people's security at all. Like, not only is he aware that it's spewing out everybody's data and he's doing nothing with it, it's not just like it's spewing out random strangers. It's spewed out personal information for people he's supposed to be friends with. According to Austin had his BitWallet hacked and lost the money from because of information leaked from Dave's app. But then not only that, I also find it sus that even though it's now basically common knowledge that this app is spewing everybody's data out into the open, there's other channels who are actively advertising it. I mean, I know Jaren's done adverts on his streams taking the piss out of it, which are hilarious. But even Mark Sargent, every stream, even now, he's still pushing people to go and buy this app. I don't know if he's getting a cut from this or what. I don't know, but his morals have gone out the window. Speaking of going out the window, where do you think you're going? Yes, you. Don't just look at me. Am I going to have to get you in this one instead? Come on, then. You have to be on stream. Right? People are eager to see you. Yes, they are. They'll be sneezing at me. Ooh, I'm just breaking my microphone now. And I've only got one hand free. Your fault. You cuddles, don't you? Okay. I know. You want everyone to see your outro video. We'll get it later. Now, can you go back on your chair? Thank you. Oh, no. Wrong page. Still not the right page. I'll get there in the end. There we go. Okay. Right. I'll just fix that. There we are. We're something like back now. Rusty is a Liverpool supporter. You're damn right, Clives. Yes, he is. You are, aren't you? Through and through. Well, he never walks alone, that's for sure. Neither do I, because he's always following me around. TX07, Rusty Cam. Rusty Cam, there we are, although Rusty's currently more interested in climbing into my camera. You've got your own. You've got your own camera. I need to see if I can just live stream an Insta 360. I'll just put the 360 here in the middle between us so you can just look between the two. Sorry, did I just poke you in the face? Do you mind? I'll be back in a minute, everybody, okay? Rusty's just pining for attention. Hey? This is why they say never work with kids or animals. Wicked Pish. Can I have a wrench? MC Toon gave one last night. Now I want to collect them. Well, I'll wait. I'll maybe hold off until I get you. I'll get Toon to give me an assessment of how you perform, and then maybe I'll get you one. All right? Do you want a wrench as well? Come on. Right. There we go. Okay, where are we at? Bill Tetley, $2. Now I have the sub trifecta, FTFE, Toon, and Dave. Well, there we go. Collecting them all. Should probably have like a I don't know. We'll do like a debunker's sticker book. Pulse Bite for $7.99 SAD. I think that's South African. I think Craig is getting MC Toon Tat. Any plan doing the same? I don't know where I'm at the moment for getting things. I've got people keep asking me about putting pictures up, selling pictures from Antarctica, which I need to do. I just haven't got round to it yet. Mr. Toffee's £2. Why do you have a bad shirt on? It's not a bad shirt, Mr. Toffees. I get you are envious. It's fine. You know, we are fighting for the Champions League. You are currently fighting to not be in a championship. But it's okay. You'll be back one day, I'm sure. He is going to cancel his membership, I imagine. Right, where am I at here? I was doing something, and then I got distracted by a dog. Yes, I love... So, these sorts of Twitter posts, they're just... It's perspective is all the problem is. Earth is seen from the dark side of the moon. July 16th in this set, the far side of the moon, which we never seen from Earth, passes by. And Chande 5 took this splendid photo of Earth and the moon together. Yes, one is very, very far away and one is very, very close. deal with this in photography all the time. It's called, well, they refer to it as lens compression, even though it's not really the lens compressing anything. But if you, in fact, I'm hoping this doesn't screw the stream up, but I will try and avoid this. Where's my overhead view? Here we go. Can I get that a little bit brighter for people? Here we are. So, two batteries, same basic size. In fact, no, because then the moon and the Earth aren't the same size, are they? So we'll just go with. There we are. Is that on? It's supposed to be focusing. So small object stays close, big object goes further away. Oh no, now they look different sizes. Whereas if I zoom in on them from a further distance, the difference now isn't so obvious. Yes, it's lens compression. It's amazing how many aspects of photography. Oh, audio echo from overhead camera. Yep. There we go. Right. Apologies about that. Mute that. No, Rusty, not you. I've got a stream deck in front of me that I've got for all the different scenes, and I've now added too many scenes. I can't keep up with myself. Yeah, apologies, Val. I forgot the camera on the top. I'd forgot to mute it. I'm hoping, is that now gone? Just checking. No. Well, there shouldn't be any echoes. I've switched the camera off. So, but yes. See the problem? Space is fake, Earth is flat? No, I see the problem, which is flat earthers don't understand perspective or optics or, well, many other different things. Very much the same with this particular one from plane to sea. One of these things is not like the other. Yes, one is shot with a very wide-angle lens and one of them isn't. The one on the left is, I'm assuming that's from Blue Ghost, which is with a fisheye lens. You can tell by how completely not straight any of those lines are. Whereas the Apollo one, that is from the command module looking back at the lunar module as it's flying back up to dock. And they're quite a distance apart and zoomed in. Yeah. Which other ones did we have? Oh, yeah, there's another perspective. One. Concerned citizens, someone's lying. Really not. Just again, flat earthers don't understand perspective, which is exactly the same as this one from Flat Earth Library. It's incredible how they always pull up corpuscular rays as apparently evidence that the sun is local, and yet always ignore the anti-corpuscular rays. Holy Rat audio is doubled now. Are you just behind on the stream, Holy Rat? Because that shouldn't be the case. As far as I know, there's only one. Yeah. Okay, it's fine. They might be slightly behind. Gary Io, that's the beauty of being a pro photographer. You can just look at a photo and have a pretty good idea of the lens it was used to take it. Yeah, it's... I mean, it's... when you spend that long dealing with... I mean, this is all stuff that, you know, I had to teach myself 10, 15 years ago. But yeah, you're right. It's just over time you spend so long dealing with kind of looking at these kinds of things that you immediately get an idea of how could I replicate that kind of look? And when you see certain claims being made and you just know they're wrong. Like the probably the most best well-known one for me when it comes to flat earthers not fully understanding perspective was when Flatzoid tried claiming that zooming in pushes objects down in the frame, and you think, I know as a photographer, I know that doesn't happen, because there are so many times where if I'm trying to photograph something, particularly if I'm using like a very long focal length lens, so there's a very narrow field of view, I can't always just pull the camera up to my eye with the lens already zoomed all the way in and have it pointing directly where I want it. Sometimes I have to have it zoomed out first in order to work out where the subject is, to put it center in the frame, and then zoom in. In fact, I had it just this evening. Just this evening, I was trying to get some pictures of some planes at sunset with the sunlight bouncing off the bottom of them, because Joe Hanvey doesn't know how lights work and seems to think that lasers are a good replication of the sun. So I'd seen some more examples of it. I thought I'll get some photos of it. Well, I was trying to photograph it with the 150 to 500 millimeter telephoto lens that I'd been using for the sunspots in Antarctica. I tried it at 500 millimeters. I tried pointing it at just picking the camera up to my eye and zooming and focusing on a plane. I couldn't find the plane to begin with. I had to zoom out first, put the plane in the center of the frame, and then zoom in. And if Flatzoid's claims were right, every time I tried to do that, the plane would just disappear out of shot. Hard to handhold at 500 millimeters. Yes, I did have it. I was shooting out the window of the house, so I just had the window open and I was resting it on the frame, on the window frame, just for stability. It's not the easiest. Did, however, see a slightly different Twitter post, which was Brock Riddick. I can never work out whether this guy is just attention-seeking or just doing it for parody, or whether they are that clueless, because they often post some garbage. But yeah, this one. Oxygen for 1 hour, oxygen for 22 hours. I have covered this in depth in a video before, which is the funny bit. The funny thing is the clue is right there, which is this isn't. This is just a regular scuba setup. Every breath of air they take in, they only take a very small amount of the oxygen from that breath in, and then expel most of it back out, and it doesn't go back into the tank. It goes straight up to the surface. Whereas here is like a closed loop, a rebreather setup of scuba, where if you look at a scuba setup that is a rebreather, where whatever you breathe out gets scrubbed and put and recycled back round, those can last for many hours. Exactly like this kind of setup, which is, funnily enough, what they also use for spacewalks as well. Mojak, try that with a fixed 1000 millimeter and tracking the ISS. Difficult but not impossible handheld. I probably wouldn't even attempt it. I think the only time I intentionally tried to get a good photo of the ISS was for that video that I did in response to Pokey a year or two ago. That was I think a 1500 millimeter focal length is that telescope, and I wasn't even going to attempt to try tracking the ISS with it. That's why I went for a shot against the moon, because I thought if I use a transit finder, it will tell me exactly where I need to be pointing the scope in advance so that I don't have to try and track it. Although that new 400 to 800 millimeter lens that Sony's just announced is an enticing one, because that there is the infamous Nikon P1000 that flat earthers absolutely love. And I bought it because I was going to do a video comparing how good does that perform versus how good does sort of like the 500 millimeter on a full frame camera work. And because that is about a 500 millimeter focal length. And it was funny because when Nikon announced that they were discontinuing the P1000, a load of flat earthers said it was because they were too close to discovering the truth and they stopped people from buying them. Go figure. But now, funnily enough, Nikon have now released the P1100, successor to that, even though it's essentially the same camera, just with a few minor tweaks. But that is a 500 millimeter physical focal length. So versus the longest lens that I've got at full zoom, when you've then cropped in the larger sensor to basically mimic the B1000, actually the results are pretty similar. So I thought it'd be great to try and get hold of a longer focal length lens, like an 800mm maybe, to give me more optical zoom. Because the thing is, the flat earthers seem to think that that is the best way of seeing really far into the distance, and it's not. You get a telescope with a regular mirrorless camera on the back of it, you can see further than a P1000 ever can. Patera, it would be possible to catch Starship on the way to the moon with a home telescope. Or question mark, is that meant to be would it? I don't know. Possibly. I know they managed to capture Apollo en route to the moon. You probably wouldn't get it from when it was coasting. You'd probably struggle to see it when it was coasting unless you knew exactly where to be looking and you were capturing for a long period of time to see it physically move against the stars in the background. Because I imagine the reflection of it while it's just coasting would probably look very much like just a regular star. But when it was doing the translunar injection burn to go to the moon, that would probably be quite noticeable, because they did with Apollo 8. If you look at it, I think it was somebody from the Smithsonian. I might even have a picture of it somewhere, in fact. Somebody from the Smithsonian, I think it was, used a telescope in Hawaii in December 1968 to photograph Apollo 8 on the translunar injection burn. They knew exactly where the burn was going to be taking place, and they had it was a massive observatory telescope set up to get a view of the translunar injection burn. And is that going to load up? I knew I had a picture of it somewhere. I just don't know where I'll see if I can find it, just because it's a good picture to there it is. So that is actually Apollo 8's translunar injection burn. So the spacecraft itself is just this tiny little dot that you probably would struggle to see, but obviously the exhaust coming out the back of it made it far more noticeable. So if you were in the right place to catch it, to be with Starship, or sort of under Starship when it was doing the translunar injection burn, you probably would. But I've no idea where that's going to be. What else have we got here? Andrew Harwood, £1, but no message. Thank you very much, Andrew. Aeromo, $2. Dave Rusty, Twin Otter flight seeing footage coming. I think I did show some of the footage. I only caught very small clips of the Twin Otter flight, to be fair. I didn't record the whole thing. I think possibly Toon or Critical. I know Critical Think took quite a long clip of it, because I did use part of that. I was sitting on the right hand side of the Twin Otter, he was on the left, and as from where we took off and then banked around to the left, so I was basically just looking at sky, because we took off flying away from the Ellsworth Mountains, then did a 180, banked to the left 180 to fly towards the mountains. So I basically just had the view looking up at the sky as we banked, and then a few mountains in the distance, whereas Critical Think had the view where he was banking, looking down at the ground, got a clear view of halfway point where we were stationed, and then I think probably would have seen the main camp as well as we were flying off. So his video probably would have been better suited. In fact, I think the other problem I was having as well, from memory, did I get pictures of it? Definitely got a video. I'll pull a video up to show you the other problem that I was facing with it, which is, where did that go now? just going to apologize in advance because I don't know how loud this video clip's going to be when it loads up. So if I deafen you, don't sue me. So, yeah, this was basically the view I had when I was banking out. But the other problem we had, and you can kind of see it, is we were all in this enclosed, obviously, tiny cabin that was full of people. So the moisture very quickly started to build up on the windows. So I was constantly having to try and, like, clean the windows, trying to wipe the moisture away. You can see the streak marks all over it. So I was actually struggling to get any clear view out of the window. So yeah, I think my clips are all 80, yeah, so barely sort of 20 seconds a piece, just these odd little snippets. It was more just odd sightseeing rather than anything of any great. Oh no, in fact, I tell a lie. I took this one inside the Twin Otter. So this was about 3 minutes long, and it's just us cruising. I've not even watched this one back. Like I said, I've got so many clips here, I've not even watched through most of them. Oh no, tell a lie, it was just me being an idiot. I put the camera down and forgot to stop recording. Yes, false alarm, people, my apologies. It was basically 2 minutes of... Oh, there we go, proving my point. I was literally constantly just trying to clean the window to get a view out of it because I was breathing all over the window. And yeah, so sorry, that was basically 2 minutes of me filming the inside of my bag. But the views were spectacular, to be fair. I think this is what they fly in. They fly these to the South Pole as well. Should be a hell of a long bloody flight, because I think we were some 700 miles off the South Pole. So yeah, 700 miles in one of them things. Be deafened by the end of it. Cooks for €2. Beginner camera recommendations around $200 to $300. That would depend on a lot of variables, really. What would you be looking at? Do you have anything in particular that you're looking to photograph, or are you just thinking, yeah, what are you looking at doing with it? Are you looking more for stills or for video? And what are you planning on trying to shoot with it? Because that will probably have a lot of variation. So pop me a comment, just tag me in a regular comment. I'll try and keep an eye out, and I might be able to help you out, but just on budget alone is a bit difficult to narrow it down. Steve Revel for $3 Australian. Amazing flirts become expert when they get a P1000. They become experts at all sorts with nothing. It is hilarious how I quite often get asked this by flat earthers, saying things like, what are my qualifications, or what level of education do I have? As though that, not having an education is going to make me enough, or having a particular education or not having an education means they can just dismiss it. Well, incidentally, I did go to university, so I've done high school, done A-levels, done university. But I love the fact that they start questioning me, what's my education level? When you ask them what their education level is, probably not going to be much help. They've probably not got much there anyway. And it's like the people who do have the education on that particular topic are the experts in that topic when it comes to things like aspects regarding the shape of the Earth. Astrophysicists and the likes will all tell you the Earth is a globe. And suddenly flat earthers know more than the people who actually have an education on that matter. It's quite hilarious. Cooks probably mostly video, but occasional nature street photography. For video, with it being video as well, you tend to find that's kind of a tricky one, really. Street photography, you kind of want to go with something low key. You don't want anything too big because it often draws attention. $200 to $300 budget, I would definitely say look secondhand for something. You can pick up sort of a couple of year old DSLR, like you'd probably easily get $200 to $300. I would say possibly look towards an older DSLR. Generally, the rule is when it comes to photography, that worry less about the camera body and more about the lens. You get much better results having a good quality lens on a lower end camera than having rubbish lenses on a higher end camera. So yeah, I would suggest look to possibly an older entry level DSLR. Or maybe even if you can potentially get like a mirrorless, smaller mirrorless camera. Like I used to have a Canon M3, tiny little thing. I've not even got anything as a good size of reference, but that was quite a small combination that was actually pretty good. The battery life wasn't great, but it was a pretty good camera. So I'd probably suggest something along those lines, given that budget. But ideally, a slightly higher budget would be useful. Eremo, $5 Dave Rusty, thank you. Didn't quite expect you to disrupt your stream. This is excellent. Thank you again. Not a problem. I don't really have a stream idea. I like I said, this was meant to be a bit of a hangout thing. I thought I don't want to spend too long on Twitter looking at a load of flat Earth and Apollo denying related memes, because it'll probably drop the IQ of everyone watching. So I thought it'd just be good to intersperse it every now and again. Turtle Moose, £5. As the P1000 has a mobile phone sensor, can you get an adapter to mount a 500mm lens to your phone to wind the flips up? I did consider that, and I think there is a potential for it. The problem, there's two main problems. The first is that yes, the P1000 has a mobile phone sensor, but the lens in front of it is designed to work with that sensor at that distance, whereas a phone obviously has its own lens in front of it that if you then held a main lens up to the back of it, it's going to sit at a weird distance. You have what they call a flange distance, which is how far away the lens mount is from the sensor. So all lenses for a particular system have to be designed that they focus the light the right distance away out the back of the lens for it to work with that particular camera mount. Otherwise, the sensor will be in the wrong place. So you can get adapters that let you put different mount lenses onto different camera bodies, assuming that it can get the lens the right distance away. You can't just put a phone up to the back of a lens mount because it'll sit the wrong distance away, but the distance is going to be a bit oddball because the camera's own lenses are trying to focus. So that's one problem, but I think you can get adapters to work with it. The bigger problem that I'll have is that because I'm on mirrorless, all the lenses that I have for mirrorless are electronic focus. They're all focused by wire, which means that you can't focus the lens unless it has power from the camera, but then it can't have power from the camera unless it's connected to the camera, but then you can't have, obviously, the phone attached to it. So it would work if you had an older mechanical lens, like an old DSLR lens, but I don't have any of those. So yeah, I'm not sure. There's probably a workaround, but I haven't worked it out yet. Frode Nies, 20 knock. Only Alison Becker can say flat Earth now. Alison was an absolute machine tonight. It was crazy. Yeah, unbelievably, he basically won us that match. I used to play. Blow me on trumpet, but I used to play goalkeeper back in sort of basically high school. I never went any further than that, but yeah, I was always play in as goalkeeper, just because it didn't involve running around. But everyone used to say I was a really good goalkeeper. But Jesus, that was another level tonight. That is the best I've ever seen him play. And then Chris Finnegan, £20 super chat, but no message. Thank you very much, Chris. I don't know if that was if you were meant to put something in there or not, but I appreciate it anyway. If you did want to, if you were meant to put a message in, just put it on the side chat. I'll keep an eye out for it. What's everyone like? Right, I need a drink. My throat is starting to dry up again. The Lubis, $2. I'm here for the dog. Where is the dog? Tell you what, I will bring up the Rusty Cam for a moment while I have a quick drink. I've done it again. I've got too many options here. Clive Wells, Dave the Cat McKeegan, was no doubt a great goalkeeper. I'm losing my old mind now. Did I just say that I was nicknamed the Cat? Or is Clive just reading my mind? Because genuinely that is what people used to refer to me as. And I don't remember actually just saying it just then. And I don't know, am I just going insane? Or is Clive psychic? But yeah, they did. They used to call me a cat because I was just all over the place. Yeah, I used to basically just... the number of times I wound up with bloody noses... or it's amazing that I was able to have children. The number of times I got hit elsewhere by the ball because I just would not duck out of the way. Yeah, I used to be all over the place. Right, where am I at? So anyway, that was the Twitter, the Twix posts that I just screenshotted before. And then I thought, if I just bring up Twix, and we'll just see what's what. We'll just see what kind of crazy is it gonna bring up. Like I say, I am on Twix. I think if anyone wants to follow me, it's at McKeegan Dave. Is my tag, but I don't really post anything on there anyway. But so I'll tell you what, let's refresh that and just see what kind of carnage this thing is going to bring up. Oh, Trevor Long, another complete moron that posts endless garbage. If you were allowed to freely explore, you could always go the opposite of north to find the ice wall. You would go as far as you could. Would you go as far as you could north first, as far as you could south? What? Have I just misread that? If you were allowed to freely explore, you could always go the opposite of north to find the ice wall. Would you go as far as you could north first, or would you go as far as you could south first? Well, I mean, flat earthers should be saying, let's go south first, given the fact that they've already been to the north and are happy that the north exists. There's no magnetic south. Funny that, because we had compasses in Punta Arenas pointing south. And Flatzoid has been in South Africa with compasses that can point south, and there's people in Australia with compasses that can point south. So there must be a magnetic south. Question is, where the hell is it? In fact, this actually reminds me, I covered the last stream I did, was mentioning the South Pole. I'd completely forgot to talk about the first people who went to Antarctica and reached the South Pole. Because that's another great point of, and I've highlighted it before in other videos, it's another nail in the coffin of just things that don't work on flat Earth. What it means is if you go south, you always hit Antarctica, i.e. the approach of an ice wall, but you could always keep going south and end up going north again. Yes, you could. You could go right the way to the South Pole and back around again, which I'm pretty sure, well, people have done because there's people who've crossed Antarctica through the pole. But, flat earthers don't like to talk about that. But yeah, the very first people that went to Antarctica, whose names, well, one of them was Robert Falcon Scott, and then there was the Norwegian team led by Roald Amundsen. I did a video and I practiced so hard on trying to pronounce his name, and I made an absolute mess of it on the video. I got so much flack from people going, "Who the hell's Roald Amundsen?" Or is it Amundsen? I don't know why my head kept trying to say Amadeus for some bizarre ass reason. I don't know, but yes, him. We'll just go with the Brits and the Norwegians just so I don't keep butchering names. But if you actually look at where they landed, I did find this picture before. Here we go. So this is where back in 1911 these two teams landed. So the British group led by Robert Falcon Scott landed at Ross Island, and the Norwegian team led by Amundsen, landed at the Bay of Whales. That is, I looked it up on Google Earth, that is about, at least on a globe, is about 400 miles apart. So they weren't exactly close to each other. Both teams knew that they were there. There was a group from Scott's team actually got back on their ship after they'd set up camp and sailed down the coast and landed at the Norwegians' camp and spent at least some time with them, and then sailed back to their own camp. So they knew they were there, but they were some 400 miles apart. And then, yeah, towards the end of 1911 into 1912, they headed off to the South Pole and then, well, headed back, although Scott's team never made it all the way back. But the bit that works on a globe, doesn't work on a flat Earth, is they started 400 miles apart. And yet, when Scott reached the South Pole, or what he concluded to be the South Pole, the Norwegian flag was already planted there. They trekked close to 900 miles from their starting point to where they figured the South Pole was. Now, obviously, on a globe, pretty straightforward. You have a compass, you say you have a compass, but you're heading south. You're heading to the point where the sun stops waving up and down in the sky to the point where it's just circling perfectly around you at equal elevation, midnight versus midday. And funnily enough, both teams found the exact same spot. Whereas on a flat Earth, south is supposed to be going further away from the North Pole straight out. So they should have been going further away from each other, not closer to each other. I had a look at this on Google Maps just to give you a kind of idea. Because like I say, they were 400 miles apart and they trekked something like 900 miles to get to the South Pole. And I did this based on America because, most of my audience is American, or a lot of them are America. So it's 400 miles is North San Francisco to southern Los Angeles. That's about 400 miles apart. So if you imagine what you and somebody else, one of you was at north of San Francisco, and the other one was South Los Angeles or close to San Diego. somewhere around there. That's just under 400 miles there. And you're walking 900 miles inland. Well, Denver, Colorado is 800... Oh, breaking this already. Denver, Colorado is 850 miles inland. Where did that just go? Breaking everything now. Oh, cut my own screen off. There we go. 850 miles. So that would mean that you are... It would be like somebody in Los Angeles and somebody in San Francisco just walking blindly and managing to bump into each other in Denver, Colorado. The chances of doing that by accident are like people think that the idea of the heliocentric model arriving is as a cosmic fluke seems unlikely. I would say this is probably similar in terms of the chances that you just happen to trek 900 miles from a point 400 miles apart and you wind up in exactly the same spot, inch perfect, to the point of, oh look, there's a flag there that's been left by those people. It's it's crazy. And yet somehow that happened back in 1912. Obviously, works perfectly on a globe, but I no idea how flat earthers explain it. Flat Earth Library. If you really believe this piece of junk is in space going from 250 degrees Fahrenheit to minus 250 degrees Fahrenheit and back again every 45 minutes, which is over 280,000 extreme temperature changes since 1998 with no damage to destruction, no failure of the seals and nuclear... Oh, God above. It really doesn't go from those extremes of temperature, though, because one, it's not doing those swings every 45. Well, is it doing those swings every 40? It's 90 minutes in orbit, but it doesn't have time to heat up and cool down that quickly. It's like if you were to, things don't instantly heat up. Even in sunlight, even in direct sunlight, you put something outside in direct sunlight, it does not heat up to whatever temperature the sunlight is beaming down at you instantly. It's like you put a chicken in the oven, right? You have an oven at 200 degrees, you put a chicken in there. The chicken does not instantly just fry up to 200 degrees. You need to leave it in for an hour and a half. So things take time to gradually heat up, and then things take time to gradually cool down as well. So the cycle is going that quickly. It's going round from heating to cooling and heating to cooling, that it doesn't have time to go through these insanely extreme temperature changes. That's why it's covered in insulation. But then, as oh, hello, PhD Tony. There's thermal inertia or specific heat capacity. Far too complicated for flat earthers. But I did see somebody else mention as well barbecue roll, which is why they employed it in Apollo. Because Apollo was cruising to the moon for 3 days. So it spent, 72 hours coasting towards the sun. That amount of time is long enough for something to heat up. So that's why they put it into a gradual roll, literally like a barbecue. They just had the spacecraft basically pitched so that one side of it was pointing towards the sun and the other side was shaded. And then they gradually had it rotating. I can't even remember the exact time frame. It wasn't insanely quick. It was a gradual roll. That's why they called it a barbecue roll, because it was like a barbecue rotisserie. So that it had equal times of being able to heat up and being able to cool down. Babi Ali, the ISS doesn't roll, does it? No, I don't believe... Well, no, it stays, as far as I know, it stays in the same orientation compared to Earth, because the cupola is always pointing... Pretty sure the cupola is always pointing down towards the surface. So yeah, I suppose it's one of them. It's always relative, isn't it? But yeah, I don't think that the ISS is in a particular role, but it's constantly hitting sunlight and shadow. It's like Apollo was in a barbecue roll on the coast to the moon and back again, but once they reached lunar orbit, they stopped the barbecue roll because they were in that constant cycle of half the orbit in daylight, half the orbit in shadow. Harley Corner, the ISS is literally tidal locked. Yeah, I think it always stays. Whenever you look at time lapses, it's always staying sort of fixed in relation to the Earth. I'm not even going down the road of politics. Too much of that crap going on at the moment. Believe it hard, it becomes real. I love that they always say everything's CGI with the globe. I have yet to see a non-CGI photo of the entire flat Earth. I mean, granted, I've yet to see a CGI map of the flat Earth because they don't have one. Oh yeah, that's the update post that I had before. Because I was looking for a picture of Starship to put onto a thumbnail, and then I seen that post saying they pushed it back to tomorrow. And I thought I dare not push the stream back because it could well get postponed again. Oh, flat Earth zone. They tell us space is a vacuum next to our atmosphere with no solid barrier between them. Yet in the real world, pressure systems require containment. A submarine needs thick steel to survive high pressure, but we're supposed to believe the atmosphere holds itself against the vacuum of space, thanks to the magical unproven theory of gravity. Oh dear God. Well, yes. Say it's not unproven, is it? You hold something up and you let go of it, it falls down. For Newton's laws of motion, an object at rest will remain at rest unless acted upon by a force. You let go of it, it moves, there must be a force therefore acting upon it. What is that force? You could say it's density, but if you change the density of an object, the speed with which it accelerates towards the ground does not change. I've done it. I've got two dumbbells that are the exact same dimension as each other, so the air resistance from them is identical, except one is double the weight of the other, which means one is double the density of the other. And if you hold them both out and you let go of them at the same time, they accelerate at exactly the same rate. Funnily enough, I did have that pose that question to Flatzoid via, is it the Drunk Debunk show? I super chatted him and asked him about that because Flatzoid had been mentioning about relative density, so I brought up that, and he threw some spewed salad about that something heavier has more energy or needs more energy to accelerate, so it all magically happens to come back to 9.8 meters per second squared. It's incredible. But I always do like these diagrams where they portray it as just it's atmosphere and then vacuum. No, there's a gradual decrease until you get to a point that it's basically immeasurable, but there's no just sudden stop. And you can clearly have it's not atmosphere next to vacuum. There is no perfect vacuum, but then it's not atmosphere directly next to vacuum. It's atmosphere next to slightly less atmosphere, next to slightly less atmosphere again, and so on and so forth. I mean, technically, pressure is variable depending on the density of the air molecules and the temperature as well. You change the temperature, you change the pressure slightly. If you take a thermometer to the different rooms of your house, you will find that there is variations in temperature, even with the doors open between different rooms. There'll be slight differences in temperature between rooms, which means there's technically slight differences in pressure between rooms, even with the doors open. Never enough to be obviously noticeable, but you're working on a very small scale there of between a couple of different rooms versus a few 100 miles going into space. There's air up by the ISS, which is why the ISS every so often has to have burns put into place. It's because it gradually, very, very slowly slowing down. There's very, very small air resistance, so it's constantly slowing down. If you left it for long enough, it would just fall back to Earth, which is why eventually all satellite orbits erode and crash unless you boost them back up again. A couple of super chats here. LDA $5. Didn't expect to get into your content, but your demeanor and insightful analysis keeps me clicking on all your videos since finding TFE. Keep it up. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying them. I do try to keep things fairly mild-mannered. I do have a tendency of, if you've ever seen me on live streams before, I do have a tendency of getting very sarcastic at times. I do try to control it, but it's very difficult. Wolftam has become a Rusty Fans member. Welcome. Fred Button, £10. Thanks for the vids and going to Antarctica. Love your debunking. Learn so much. Thank you very much, Fred. Yeah, I mean, Antarctica was beyond amazing. It was frankly a pleasure to go. Granted, I had to be stuck with Whitsit for over a week, but you know, I'm over it now. The turtle moves £2. I can't help sarcasm. Turtle moves £2. You've caught the can't tech bug from FTFE and Cat. OBS seems to be behaving itself again now. I don't know what happened. Like I said, I've done now 2 streams with it, like totaling some 6-7 hours, and I've had no issues with it at all. Both streams so far have been really smooth, and suddenly this one started throwing a wobbler. But I mean, that camera's now off, so I don't know if I just had too many cameras, if it's starting to go a bit crazy. But I mean, it's not pressing the. I mean, my processor's sitting at 1.5% utilization doing this stream at the moment, so it's not like I'm taxing the computer with this. So I don't know. And just a messenger for $1.99. It's a dome-shaped piece of Tupperware, guys. Where are we at here? What else? Oh, click back on that one. Oh, dear Christ. Not even gonna. Maybe I'll just leave this here for Mr. Toffees. Like I said, still can't believe we managed it. Like I said, this is the longest I've ever scrolled through Twix because yeah, it gives me a headache sometimes. Like this one. We'll keep this one going. The AI CGI departments of all new space companies who figured out how to get into the grift are having a blast this week competing to see who can release the most ridiculous space footage to see where the sheep draw the line. Or if there's one. It is amazing how they seem to think there's this massive global conspiracy and you know, we can't go to the moon and we can't do this and we can't do that, and we need to hide the Earth being flat. So what's the best way to do that? I know, let's allow a bunch of private companies for decades now, or decades later, let's allow a bunch of private companies to start jumping in on it all as well. You'd think that if they wanted to hide it, they would give some reason why private companies shouldn't start jumping in on all of this, rather than, you know, oh yeah, by all means, make lots of new private companies and let's have every country on the planet now starting to have their own space agencies. But by the way, you've got to go along with this idea that you're actually doing this, when in reality you're going to have to lie about it all. It's quite amazing how they forever tell you that you just have to think about stuff, and yet that seems to be the one aspect of their logic that they don't do with it, is think about it. Um, like the whole post TFE thing now with Jeren, the backlash on Jeren is ridiculous. Not unsurprising, but it's pretty ridiculous. But I love the logic of what they're coming out with. Like, I am hearing people like Dearth and Mark Sargent claiming that Jeren's been paid off to flip, to say the Earth's a globe. Well, when the hell did that happen? Because Jeren actually came up to us when we were back in Chile, came up to me and Toon, shook our hands and said, it all fits a globe, it doesn't fit flat Earth. So that must mean he would have had to have been paid off before that. Well, why the hell would he want... Well, if he was going to be paid off, if he was going to accept that payoff, why would they have a load of other people there as well to see it? Like, they're not saying that Whitsett's been paid off, because Whitsett's still pushing a flat Earth. Well, Whitsett was with Jeren the whole time. Whitsett hasn't said anything about him being paid off, because he wasn't paid off. But, yes, or what, was he paid off before Chile? Then why did he insist on having other people come along for the trip if he knew in advance that he was going to be flipping? It just doesn't make any sense at all. But, you know, desperate times calls for desperate excuses. Oh, here we go. Another one. Pressurized rocket hatches, pressurized plane doors. Well, are they even... I'm trying to think what hatches they are. I mean, for starters, you've got what's the pressure difference that you're dealing with. Because for likes of Apollo, the pressure inside the cabin was only 5 psi versus 0 outside. Whereas planes, you're looking... Well, they're not 0 psi, but I'm pretty sure there's more than a 5 psi difference. And I'm sure there's some other reasons why the plane doors are that thick. I'll have to speak to Wolfie. He'll probably be able to tell me. They're also dealing with... Planes are also dealing with far more stresses, given the fact they're constantly being bombarded by air. Babby Alley, that's not a pressure hatch, that's an aerodynamic shroud hatch. Ah, that's probably what it is then. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure the ISS hatches are, like, pretty damn thick from memory. In fact, I did see a meme about that somewhere. Somebody... I thought I'd screenshotted that. It might have been on my phone. Let me just have a look. I have a tendency of just randomly screenshotting stuff as well. Is it that one? No. Can't find it. No. No idea. Yeah, somebody trying to claim that you never see astronauts on the ISS going through the airlocks, as though that's another sign that it's fake, which is funny because somewhere in amongst my huge collection of everything, I found a complete spacewalk from a GoPro where was it? I can never find it when I actually want something. But the video of... You'll find it on the channel. It's... In fact, I'll find it on the channel. I'm sure it was EVA... Is it Mission 68? Basically, I put together a video that is about an hour long of a complete spacewalk from... Oh, is that it? Oh, it's 20 minutes. I'll find it another time. But yeah, Chris Cassidy's spacewalk on Spacewalk 68, and I found the full GoPro video, and you can see him getting ready inside the ISS, then putting on the spacesuits, going into the airlock, having the airlock open, going outside, and yeah, the airlock hatch on the ISS is huge. So I can't remember. I don't know which ones they're comparing there, but it's not a like for like comparison. I'll get rid of the cat videos before somebody gets envious. I love waking up to this every day. Yeah, I just think it's don't work on a flat Earth. But this is undersides of clouds being lit up. That's why I went with the undersides of planes, because I know flat Earthers have said that when you see this, it's apparently the sun coming through the clouds from above, but you can't do that with planes. So that's why I went with planes rather than excuse me, rather than clouds, because you can't say that the sunlight is shining through the plane. Although if you're Joe Hanvey and you fire a bleeding laser at it, you do get that impression. Oh, goody! More flat earthers that don't understand cameras and exposure. That'll be, there's clouds along the front of that sun. But they're only very faint, wispy clouds that will be going across the front of the sun. But the sun is so damn bright, given the exposure levels, you can't see those clouds because they're blown out. This is kind of the exact same thing as with the moon landing photos, where they say the crosshairs have gone invisible, that the crosshairs are behind objects, and they never are. But the examples that people show and find are highly compressed JPEG images, and it's always crosshairs against the white object, because the JPEG compression just basically gets rid of these faint black lines and just paints the whole thing white. Whereas if you go and find the originals, the original scans of the film, every single crosshair is exactly where it's supposed to be. It's just that the compression from when they've reduced the size of them to make them suitable for putting on websites, JPEG compression and shrinking the size down gets rid of those very small details. Exactly the same thing's happening here. The very faint details of clouds are being blown out because you can't see any detail of the surface of the sun. Oh God, there's just so much. Oh, Shane. Keen timing of a solar halo with a perfect specular reflection. Why do I get the feeling that's a load of crap? But I'd be interested to see the actual file where that was captured, because I'm not buying it. One bleeding iota. Like, that bit from here down, I believe, is an actual sunset. They might have overdone the reflections off there, but yeah. Why is there, if there's two suns in the sky, why is there only one line of fucking... Problem is, it probably is AI, as a lot of people point out, but there's so much these days. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, there's... Brock Riderick, yeah. Oh, well, there we go. Wouldn't you know it? This is, I know Dearths keeps putting this one up about how the sun supposedly shrinks at sunset. And yet it's incredible that the sun only ever starts shrinking half an hour before it sets. It's amazing how on a flat Earth it can stay the exact same size for 8 hours as it's going from one side of you all the way over to the other side, and then suddenly it just magically shrinks. That would mean that it would be having to just literally zoom straight into view from sunrise, and then arc over you to stay the exact same size throughout the day, and then when it gets to near the other horizon, it then just shoots off, whilst someone further along from you is seeing the exact same thing. Or, you know, the other option is that it's just that as it's nearing the horizon and it's having to go through a lot more atmosphere, you cut out a lot more of the glare, which is, strangely, when you use a solar filter like I used in Antarctica, you find that how big you think the sun is in the sky with the amount of glare, actually the actual sun itself is really just a tiny dot in the middle of it. And yeah, funnily enough, Dearth, I think, has done a video claiming to show a solar filter and the sun still shrinking, except he's not fathomed that he's not using a solar filter, he's using a neutral density filter. In fact, tell you what I'll do, just because. I'm going to leave you with Rusty for a second, just while I grab some props. Ah, hit the wrong one again. Oh, we'll go with that for now. So somewhere within my little bag of tricks here, I have a whole host of filters. And I think, if memory serves, that's a polarizer. I'm sure I had some ND filters in here somewhere. I'm just going to show you the difference between an ND filter and a solar filter. What's that one? ND64. That'll be a good setup. So here we go. So if I put that up there, so you know that's a good couple of stops worth of light there. That typically you use for getting much longer exposures. In fact, if I get, there you go, phone light, right, takes away a fair bit of glare. This is the solar filter that I used in Antarctica. Right, hasn't got a, there's you can just about struggle to even get the reflection. Let's see if I can brighten that up for you. Can I make that brighter? There you go. That tiny little speck there is that. So this is essentially now sunlight, ND filter, sunlight, an actual solar filter. That's how much of a difference. Oh, I'm going the wrong way with that now. Where am I at? Yeah, so when you actually use a solar filter, have I made that too dark? Go back a bit, there we go. Yeah, an actual solar filter stops a hell of a lot more light than just an ND filter. So you put one of them up to the sun, you'll get rid of some of the glare, but you still won't see the actual outline of the sun. You put one of them up, all you will see is the outline of the sun and no glare. And I know, is it Red's Rhetoric, I think, has done a full, like, through full day from sunrise to sunset, tracked shot of the sun. Pretty sure he had a solar filter on it. And the sun, same size, all the way through, from it cresting the horizon, all the way up and over to the other side. And in fact, I did, whilst on TFE, used that 500mm lens. So I used it at the same focal length every single time. I took photos of the sun for 24 hours in Antarctica. I took photos of the sun in Chile. I took a time-lapse view with the solar filter of the sunrise in Chile, and I took photos of the sun from the UK a few days after I got back. Same focal length, same solar filter, and shock horror, the sun is the same size at every point throughout the day, from sunrise, middle of the day, from the UK, from Chile, from Antarctica. Yeah, nothing like the crap that Dearth puts up about claiming that the sun changes size, but he's not going to address that. Anyway, I need a break from looking at Twitter Twix now because my head's fried. Let's catch back up on some super chats and see where everybody's at. Ronald Vander, I do apologise, Ronald. It's cut the back of your name off. €6. Pup needs a bone. He doesn't really do eating bones, to be fair. He usually has. Got treats for him downstairs, but he's already had his today, and yeah, he doesn't look like he's doing much for the rest of the day, does he? He's just sort of fitting in the chair, barely. I'm going to have to change this chair at some point because it is kind of a bit worn out now, but it's his chair. He won't talk to me if I get rid of it. Derek the Dollard, £5. The fact flurfs think a meme can debunk science is ludicrously absurd. It's actually laughable. Anyway, hope you're well, Dave. Any weekend plans? Well, thank you very much, Derek. Yes, it is hilarious, but hey, it's fun material sometimes. Yes, I am very well, especially after the football tonight. Plans for the weekend? Not particularly. This weekend is my fiance's Hindu, so I'm basically going to be looking after the kids for the weekend while she goes and enjoys her last. Well, I'll say it's not last night of freedom. We don't get married till July, but yeah. She's on Hindu. I'm on babysitting. Roundhound, $5 Dave, what's the velocity of gas particles? Now ask what's the required velocity to escape Earth's atmosphere. Yes, and much like if you throw a ball up into the air, its initial velocity gradually, very quickly starts decelerating. So the particles are expelling energy as they're trying to get higher. Eventually, they're going to run out of energy. Yeah. They haven't got infinite energy to escape Earth's atmosphere. If they did, and they could harness that for rockets, that would be useful. Cooks, €5. Been looking through the German version of Craigslist for what feels like forever, but I don't know if the cameras I find do video. Any specific models in mind? Good question, actually. They'll do video, thinking about it. The old DSLRs, you'll find they do video, but they don't all do autofocus. So mirrorless is usually a better choice for video shooting. But they're much newer, they're a bit more expensive. But yeah, if you look for, like I said, I used to use a Canon M3 as a sort of travel camera. I had my main DSLRs, which were quite big, and then I had a little Canon M3 that I used to use as a walk around, and that worked pretty well. So if you look for something along a Canon M line, M5. I think the M3s are a bit old, and I don't see many of them now, but M5, M6 might be worth a look at. See what you can find those for. If not, Sony, probably a 6000, a 6300 would be potentially a good starting point. Just a messenger for $5 US. So funny that flat earthers say never seen that, but none of them have ever seen the dome or the flat earth itself. So inconsistent. There are so many inconsistencies between their various arguments. It is quite hilarious. Funnily enough, actually, I replied to a tweet before. Somebody had posted an Eric Dubé video where he's talking about how all of the stars rotate around Polaris. That is apparently his evidence of the Earth being flat and the sky being this dome over us that's circling is all the stars circle around Polaris. So I had to put a comment just pointing out that it's funny that apparently the stars in the sky now do tell us the shape of the ground. They'll say, oh, the Earth can't be a globe because the stars aren't changing, but when it comes to the final experiment, stars in the sky, lights in the sky don't tell you the shape of the ground when it suits them. Evil Angel JS, £5. I'd love to hear a Flurf's explanation for the I can't even pronounce that. Not balloons, clouds. I'm getting too freaking tired and my contact lenses are drying out. Noctilucent clouds. I'd love to hear Flat Earthers' explanations for most things. I'm still waiting. I suspect Joe Hanvey is not going to be happy with me because of the video that I did regarding him and the model plane. Which, if you haven't seen it, that went out yesterday. Joe Hanvey tried to claim that light can easily get to the underside of an aeroplane on a flat Earth, and he was shining a laser down at the plane. Now, I've put it forward, because when I did it with this, the laser will hit the plane and it will make the bottom of it glow, but this is thin plastic. So it's basically just making the whole plane glow, and the underside of it glows. Joe has now started to come out and say that his plane is metal, not plastic, which I'm not personally buying, but even if it was, he's claiming, firstly, he's also claiming that a laser is a better representation of the sun than a torch / flashlight. But, so he's claiming that a laser can hit a curved metal surface of a plane and bend around it to light up the underside. That's perfectly fine, apparently. Which, if that is Joe's claim, that a laser can bend around the metal plane and light up the underside at the bottom, he is basically then just saying that every single observation where a flat earther shines a laser across a lake to say that the Earth is flat is now then null and void. Because if a laser can bend around a few dozen feet of hull of an aeroplane, it can bend that much, then it can bend a fraction of that over several miles. Therefore, every laser experiment or every laser demonstration that a flat earther has ever done can then be discarded. So I'd like to know which Joe would prefer to go with. Answer will be both, obviously. News, $5. Earth is clearly a torus, quite possibly. Harley Corner, €20. 1 year ago, I funded and conducted a study with over 10,000 random people across the globe. The TLDR is that only about 1.2% are targetable by a flat Earth conspiracy. This figure alone already disproves the whole flat Earth narrative. Yeah, I think, well, yeah, I mean, flat Earthers to them, you know, depending on if they're a grifter, then 1.2% of the world's population is still a fairly sizable audience for them. But that's in fact, speaking of the whole contradiction thing, that's another contradiction. Is that flat earthers have? I did think about this before, because pre-TFE they're all like, TFE is a waste of time. Why are you bothering with it? It's not going to prove anything. Then they've gone into meltdown. Suddenly now they're all saying that, oh no, in fact, I remember what the contradiction was. Pre-TFE, they were all saying that they are silencing flat earthers. that YouTube algorithms and everything else are all silencing flat Earth and hiding the truth. Post TFE, it's all over mainstream media. Well, I say all over mainstream media, but there was quite a few news outlets picked up on TFE. It's clearly got noticed. Somebody mentioned the other day Dom Jolly, Trigger Happy TV, who did a tour around Britain talking about conspiracy theories and stuff, knew about TFE. I actually saw a clip just today from one of the Joe Rogan shows in January, happened to mention, I didn't by name, but mentioned the guy who took flat earthers to Antarctica, i.e. Will Duffy. So Joe Rogan had heard about TFE. So there's all these people that then have heard about TFE. Flat earthers now are saying that TFE has been great for flat Earth because their numbers are now booming. Nathan Thompson in the debate with Will the other day tried claiming that all his social media outlets are now booming since TFE because of people finding flat Earth. Even though I had a look at Nathan's YouTube channel analytics, and he's currently averaging 42 views per day on YouTube. So if that's in booming, I don't know what it was beforehand. But yeah, it's quite funny that they've gone from we're being silenced to now apparently flat Earth's booming again, even though their numbers don't actually seem to add up. It does seem to suggest that. It seems more like they're trying to put a spin on it and say that it's booming and making it big again, because they haven't actually got an explanation for the 24-hour sun. So they're trying to spin it that TFE has instead made flat Earth more prominent, when it's not. It's just exposed that they haven't got answers for these things, but they need to try and portray to their audience that actually things aren't dying on their arse. But yeah, Derek did allowed £2. Does it still danger your eyes looking through an SF? SF? Solar filter. Oh, does it damage your eyes looking through a solar filter? I don't think it damages your eyes looking through a solar filter. I think, no. So, I don't know. You asking what between solar filter versus ND filter? If so, solar filters are okay. ND filters depends on the strength. Regular ND filters typically will block visible light but don't block infrared or UV. Solar filters do, which was the problem I had in the first place, because these are all KNF concept filters. I've worked with them for a while, and I messaged them pre-TFE and asked, would they be willing to send me one of their, I think it was a 32 stop ND filter. It was like a really strong ND filter that you would only use for like beyond ridiculously long exposures. So they sent me one, and then when I mentioned about it, there was a few people pointed out that it doesn't always block UV and infrared. So I reached out and asked them, and they said no, it doesn't. It only blocks visible light, not ultraviolet or infrared. Which I wasn't using them. I wasn't going to be using the filter to be looking directly at the sun, because I wasn't holding it up to my eye and looking through it. I was using a camera, and I wasn't using a DSLR anyway. So when I was looking through the viewfinder, it was just a screen I was looking at. But I didn't want to risk it damaging the sensor, having a camera pointing at the sun for 24 hours straight. So I instead got a proper solar filter, which does actually block an infrared and UV, and like Mojek points out, need 1 million to equate to a solar filter, which is in fact, if I can get that to, is it going to focus? Don't look at me, look at my hand. There we go. Yeah, ND 1 million. Is that 1 million? Yeah, ND 1 million. So ridiculously strong. Patrice Everett, Jeran, to his credit, is willing to look at the moon landings with. Yes, he is. Jeran, to be fair, my opinion of Jeran shifted a lot through TFE. Beforehand, I did sort of suspect that he was a grifter, just because of how many times he'd essentially proven the globe. He'd captured the ISS and shown it was exactly where and when the globe predicted the ISS would come by, and it was exactly shaped like the ISS. He did the experiment, his light test that he did for Behind the Curve, which, all right, at the time he didn't think that proved the globe because he'd got his maths wrong for how much curvature there should be, and he said the reason he'd said interesting is because he was expecting one result for the globe and one result for flat Earth, and the result he actually got was in the middle of them, not realizing that he'd got his maths for the globe wrong, and actually the result he got is what the globe predicted. So I thought, and Toon did actually go on and sort of explain that to him and show him the maths that the globe maths predicts exactly what he got. And I thought, he's proven the globe to himself so many times over. You can't be a flat earther, a genuine flat earther, and still prove the globe that many times and not realize the Earth's a globe. So I was convinced he was a grifter. But to be fair, actually having the conversations with him in Chile, I thought, no, he's genuinely trying to work it out. You can see it. He's not just, he's not just going straight dismissal of whatever points I'm saying, like Austin was, for example. He was actually prepared to listen to what I was saying and take it on board and try and reconcile it to himself. So, and then obviously now having seen the 24-hour sun, he's changed his mind. But that's another point with what flat earthers are saying about Jeran. Like, they're portraying that he's just seen the 24-hour sun and thought, oh, well, that's it, the Earth's a globe. Well, he's not. He's spent, 6 months at least TFE was on the cards for. It was 6 months from me saying I was going to actually going. He's had all that time to work out all the, if the sun sets, then it means this. If the sun doesn't set, what could it mean? And so he's had many months of actually trying to work out all of these different permutations of how could these things be explained and still fit with everything else. And he knew going in, nothing else works with a flat Earth. If there's a 24-hour sun, there's no flat Earth explanation that he could come up with in 6 months. Whereas it seems like the rest of the flat earthers buried their heads in the sand until TFE and then was like, oh, shit, there was a 24-hour sun. Quick, panic. Harley Corner, Dave, the laws of physics do not apply to the sun and moon, therefore flat earth wins. Very true. Although, well, the laws of physics apply when it's suitable for flat earthers to apply the laws of physics, and then any other time they go sailing out the window. Megaloo 20... check Coronas, I think that is. Can't wait for optics at uni next year. Sarcasm. Derek the Dollar, £2. Do you know if Lisbeth is still a flirt? As far as I know, yes, she is. She's now she's now with Mark Sargent on his show. I think Patricia Steele has left that particular show. Lisbeth is now on there in her place. So as far as I know, she's still on with flat Earth. She's obviously acknowledged the 24-hour sun in Antarctica, but she's going with the notion of that's just something else that they've got to try and explain, but don't actually know how. Did I just see IC Spin 10-minute warning? Craig and Toon are going live. Yeah. Do you know what? I think have you had enough as well? Oh, well, if Rusty's had enough. Yeah, I'm probably going to get this wrapped up then so I can get out the way of, I don't want to interrupt Craig and Toon going live. Plus, I have Toon's top left video to keep working on as well, which let's say I'm pulling a little ace up my sleeve that I think will sway the voting video. That I think Toon might be the top left champion of 2024. I just saw somebody else ask me a question. Joseph369, hi Dave, what's your favourite thing about Duffy? Well, I mean, he definitely takes the phrase "go big or go home" to a whole new bleeding level to pull off what he's pulled off. In terms of, yeah, I genuinely didn't think that TFE would happen when it first got announced. I didn't think that it would happen. It just seemed like an insane thing to suggest, but yeah, beyond words. Bill Tetley, $2. Good night, Dave. Can't wait for the next one. Thank you very much, Bill. And thank you everyone else for stopping by as well. Yeah, like I said, it was a bit of an impromptu stream. It was one that kind of went off the cards because I was hoping to do Starship, and that obviously didn't happen. I don't know if I'm going to stream again tomorrow with Starship. Who knows? We'll see. I'm going to jump out of here because Toon and Craig, I believe, are about to go live, and I don't want to be treading on their toes. But geez, 812 people watching. That is crazy. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in, stopping by, and a whole host of bloody new members as well, which is, yeah, fantastic. Right, so I think now is probably the time that everyone's been waiting for, which is hopefully the outro is now going to play. So I will say thank you to everyone for stopping by. Rusty would, but he's passed out on the floor. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you in the next stream.
Rusty sits atop his big red chair, casting out looks without a care. With his sidekick Dave close at hand, teaching us about the globe. Sunspots or the new space probe, the daring duo will make their stand. Rusty lies in his big red chair, barely rubs legs up in the air. It's a clever ruse to be sure. He may look sleepy, don't be deceived. Don't let your thoughts be preconceived. He can spring to life in a big red blur. Rusty has a nose for facts, a science-based directive. Battling conspiracy theories, a true canine detective. He can't be denied. So many have tried, so many have failed and ended up dejected, just like the fish John West rejected. So many of them to be corrected. Rusty sleeps in his big red chair. Those floppy